Hey y'all, this What's for Dinner is going to be a little bit different. I'm not sure how y'all will like it, but I know that I'm looking forward to filming it. So basically, a few days ago, I was cleaning out my pantry, and I came across this 1995 JCPenney's cookbook. I bought this thing forever ago, and I completely forgot about it, and I'm pretty sure I've not tried any recipes from it. I was actually born in 1993, so I was 2 years old when this cookbook came out, and it's just kind of funny to me because I have so many like childhood memories at JCPenney's because that was my mom's favorite store and probably still is to this day. So I just feel like we were always there as kids, and she didn't give this to me. I actually found it at a local antique shop for just $5. But when I found this in my pantry the other day, I knew right away that I wanted to film this whole video based around the recipes I picked from this book. I'm going to be doing 3 dinner recipes and 1 dessert. I have not picked them out yet. As soon as I turn off the camera, I'm going to sit here and meal plan, make my grocery list, and go shopping. But yeah, like I have always had an obsession with old cookbooks, especially when I was younger, like before I moved out on my own, before I even knew how to cook. You would find me as a little girl flipping through my mom's cookbooks that she would get from like church or just hand it down to her. I would just sit there and read through them. I thought they were so fascinating. Was anyone else like that? I don't know. But even as I'm like sitting here flipping through these pages right now, I just think it's so interesting like how different the ingredients were, just the way the directions were written. Like things have changed so much. And I just think it's kind of neat too, like seeing the individual names of the people who sent these recipes in and like where they're from. I just kind of wonder like where they're at now. How are they doing? I don't know. I overthink everything. But then too, like, I get a lot of my recipes from Pinterest, so you know how you can see like what the end product should look like, and you can read the reviews of what other people left and their opinions on how it tasted. But it's like with these cookbooks, I have no idea what it's going to look like. I have no idea what it's going to taste like, so it's just going to kind of be like a surprise. I really want to show you guys like what I'm looking at, but I don't want to get in trouble for copyright. So I'm going to do a little bit of research on what I can and can't do, and if I can't like show you guys the recipes, I will just try to be extra detailed as I'm showing them, or I'll figure out something. But yeah, I really hope that you guys enjoy this video. I hope that my family likes these recipes. I'm gonna do my best to stick to making it exactly as it's written, but I did notice flipping through this that, you know, a lot of these people didn't use a whole lot of seasonings. It's mostly just salt and pepper. I don't know if I can do that. I mean, it's not a huge deal if I add a few extra things, but we'll see. We'll just, you know, we'll figure it out. But and then also, like, if any of you guys watching have this cookbook, I don't know if it's backwards to you guys, but it says Cooking for a Cause, like I said, 1995 JCPenney Associate Cookbook. If any of you guys have this, I want to know. Let me know down in the comments. That would make my day. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna sit here and meal plan, and yeah, let's get into it. First up, I picked a taco soup. I chose this particular recipe because it was different from any taco soup that I had ever made. So I started by browning up 1 pound of ground beef, and then I drained off the grease. Then I threw in some chopped celery and carrots. The recipe called for 2 cups of each, so 4 cups total. I thought that was a little bit too much, and honestly, I just got tired of chopping, so I did slightly less than that. And then next, I am going to toss in 1 of these beef cubes, like beef bouillon cubes. And then this is where it got a little bit interesting to me. It called for 2 cans of a cream of potato soup. I have never bought that before. I don't even know if I've ever really seen it in the store. I never really looked for it. But next I'm throwing in 2 cans of chili beans. I'm just going to give that a quick little stir. And then next, I'm going to toss in a large can of diced tomatoes, juice and all, followed by an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, and then 1 package of taco seasoning. I have the old El Paso brand. That's what I had in my pantry. And then I'm just going to stir all of that together. I let that come up to a simmer, and then I turned it down to about medium-low. I popped a lid on, and I let that cook for 2 hours. And then here it is after the 2 hours. I loved how like thick the soup was, and that 2-hour cook time was perfect. The veggies were perfectly tender, and it had plenty of time for all of those flavors to like marry together. I topped it with some shredded cheese and some corn chips per the recipe's recommendations, and oh my goodness, y'all, this was so delicious. My kids absolutely loved it. I wouldn't call it taco soup. It was more of like a mixture of vegetable soup and chili, but like I said, amazing, and I had plenty to freeze for later. Up next is a broccoli and chicken casserole. So I have a 13 by 9 casserole dish out, and I'm throwing in 2 frozen bags of broccoli florets that I just steamed in the microwave. I did drain off the excess water first and then just lay that down into the bottom. I'm taking some scissors and I'm just kind of breaking the broccoli apart. I've noticed with my family, they do a lot better with like finely chopped pieces of broccoli versus the bigger florets. They're not really broccoli lovers, but I just keep on trying. But next is a layer of just some cooked and chopped chicken, and then to a mixing bowl, I'm just going to mix together 1 can of cream of chicken soup, half a cup of mayo. I know a lot of people get grossed out when a recipe calls for mayonnaise, and I get it, but I promise y'all it works so good in like chicken dishes. And then I'm just squeezing in some fresh lemon juice. You need at least 2 tablespoons. And then I'm just going to quickly whip that together, and y'all can already guess where that's going to go. I'm just going to drizzle that over the top of the chicken, and it's going to look like there's not enough, but I promise it is plenty. I just take the back of my spoon and spread that out the best that I can. Looks good to me. And then next is going to come a Kristen Step staple, and that is some shredded sharp cheddar cheese. Lastly, I'm just going to take a half a cup of Italian style breadcrumbs and just add that into 2 tablespoons of melted butter. At this point, I turned off the heat and I'm just tossing that together. The recipe technically called for margarine, but I've never bought that, and I'm not going to go out and get it for just one recipe. But I'm just going to take that and sprinkle that evenly over the top, and that's going to go in the oven at 350 degrees. The recipe said 1 hour, but I did end up taking it out 5 minutes early because I was afraid it was going to burn. But yeah, here is what the finished product looks like. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but it was another winner. This was so, so good, and I love how that long bake time made the cheese like crispy on top. To me, there is nothing better, but if you don't like that, simply just reduce your baking time. For the last dinner, I am doing what someone named as Company Coming Casserole. So in the background, you can see I'm sauteing up some ground beef. There is 1.5 pounds in that skillet. Meanwhile, I chopped up 1 green bell pepper. I removed the seeds and the stem, and I'm just chopping that up the best that I could. And then once that ground beef was fully cooked and drained, I am adding in a large can of the diced tomatoes with the juice and 1 can of tomato sauce. 8 ounces, and then you'll need a pack of the Lipton onion soup mix. And here is my hack for you onion haters like me. I just pour it over a fine mesh strainer and just give it a good shake to get all of that seasoning and flavor down into your dish, and then I toss the dehydrated onions. Make fun of me all y'all want. It works for us. So then I added in a can of peas that have been drained, and then that chopped pepper, followed by 1 cup of water, and I'm just going to stir that together, and I'm going to let that cook away until that sauce kind of reduces down a little bit. Does that not just look like Christmas time in a pan? I swear that makes me so happy. But in the background, I have a large pot of water that I had brought up to a boil. I've added in a ton of salt, and I'm going to add in a whole box of bowtie pasta. That was a 12-ounce box. If you didn't want to do bow ties, you can do like egg noodles. That would be really good as well. So once I had that cooked to like al dente, I drained off the water and added it to that meat mixture, and I was going to carefully toss that together. That pot was really full, and plus I didn't want to like break up the pasta. And then I have 2 8x8 casserole dishes, and I'm just evenly distributing that between the 2. And then I'm just going to, again, top it with lots of that goodness, some sharp cheddar cheese. One of these is going to be baked at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And that second one is going to be froze for later, or I could give it away to someone. So I probably should have technically let that completely cool down. I mean, I did let it cool down for a little while, but anyways, I added some cling wrap, and then for some double protection, I did add down a layer of tinfoil. But here it is straight out of the oven. It's nice and bubbly. This tastes nothing like baked spaghetti. It had a really unique flavor that we loved. As you can see, I topped mine with a ton of black pepper, but yeah, it was amazing. But I will say the leftovers were not that great. Lastly, I'm going to whip up a pumpkin bread. This is one of those things I feel like you need at least once during the fall time. And plus, I had everything on hand to make it. Didn't have to go to the store for nothing. So that was really nice. So to a large mixing bowl, I'm adding 1 cup of pure pumpkin puree, not the pumpkin pie filling. In that same measuring cup, I'm cracking in 2 eggs. I like to do it this way versus cracking it over the mixing bowl. That way I can really be on the lookout for like the eggshells. But yeah, I'm adding that to the pumpkin puree, followed by a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. And then I have a 1/3 cup of water. I did do half of that because I did cut this recipe in half. And I do plan on listing out all of the ingredients and directions to these recipes down below in my description box. It'll probably be pretty time consuming, but you guys are 100% worth it. But after I got that mixed together, I'm going to sift in the dry ingredients. So here I'm just adding some plain all-purpose flour. I added in 1 3/4 cup of that, followed by 1½ cups of just regular granulated sugar. And I also did a 1/2 tablespoon of some pumpkin pie spice, and then 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just giving that a good shake or sifting it. I don't have an actual sifter, but this works just as good. And then I'm just going to kind of take the clumps that are remaining and kind of push those through with my fingers. And yeah, it is ready to be stirred. I'm just going to keep on stirring that until it looks something like this. How gorgeous is that batter? So my loaf pan, I've just sprayed it really well with some nonstick cooking spray, and I'm just going to pour that batter on in and take the back of my spoon and kind of spread it out on the top to make it look pretty. And that's going to go in the oven at 325 degrees for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And you can, of course, always do like the toothpick test to see, because, you know, all ovens vary, of course. But as soon as that came out, I flipped it onto a cooling rack, and I let that completely cool down. I gave some of this away to family, and then I ended up freezing some. But a slice of this in the morning with a cup of coffee is pure bliss, let me tell you. That is going to wrap up this video. I hope that you all have found at least one thing that you like to make for your family. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching.